Tonight on Joy News Prime, NPP MP calls for the suspension of free SHS and other government flagship programs suspended immediately and resources redirected to other productive sectors.
Free SHS, those benefiting the NAPCO, planting for food and job, if they are not showing some kind of appreciation. Government should take a decision that let me suspend and move that fund, save that money.
More as former chairman of the Ghana Revenue Authority, Professor Odaw, also wants free SHS reviewed so those who can afford to pay will pay as means to resuscitate the economy.
I think that free SHS is wonderful because if it was there, I would have gone to secondary school, not teachers' college. So, but we have to look at it again.
But is the suspension or a review of free SHS currently an option for government? The Ministry of Education says no.
Given the sensitive nature of the matter, I expect Mr. Speaker to deal very expeditiously with this matter, compose the committee, and we would have
flood alerts, improper waste disposal and encroachment on the buffer zones of Odaw drainage basin hampering the progress of ongoing dredging. We'll hear from the Ghana Meteorological Agency on the forecast for 2022. And minority in Parliament files motion for a bipartisan probe into circumstances leading to the killing of 2 police officers. At 8 p.m. I will hand it over to Charles and Gary for Prime Business and Prime Sports. Charles, what's coming up in business?
Well, tonight on business, the Traders Association, importers and exporters are raising concerns over the downward review of the benchmark policy. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Trade is insisting that this is the best way to go to rake in more revenue.
If they will agree that a lot of things that they import, like that we have the capacity to produce here, they should partner those industries that are producing here.
And in sports, better late than never. For the first time in the history of Black Stars games, there will be an electronic ticketing system for you to buy.
We're digitizing all the ticketing points so that there will be transparency in the collection, so that whoever the sharing will be done to all key stakeholders without any challenge.
And we are your home of independent, fearless and credible journalism. I'm Blessed Sugan. Stay for details. Well, tonight, Chairman of the Parliament's Roads and Transport Committee, Kennedy Osei-Nyako, says if Ghanaians are complaining about economic hardship, then government should suspend the free SHS school feeding, planting for food and jobs, and other flagship policies and resources redirected to other productive sectors of the economy. Ghana's economy is currently in dire straits, with the president chairing a summit of his government to decide on the best course of action to fix the economy. He argues that by suspending these programs, government can save between 5 and 6 billion cedis.
It's a suggestion that I say if I have the power to advise government, I'll tell government that why don't you suspend this 5 let's say social intervention program.
What are these specific?
Well, you say you've read they've read. I mean, I was saying that why? Well, those people who are benefiting the school free SHS, those benefiting the NAPCO, those benefiting the teacher training allowance, those benefiting planting for food and job, if they are not showing some kind of appreciation, they don't see that what government is doing is a form of sacrifices, and they are still calling on government that things are very tough. Government should take a decision that let me suspend and move that fund, save that money, and move it to areas that they think that these people will have that kind of will improve their economic condition, will improve, and that is what
was a major campaign policy.
So if the people
want government to be,
and if the people that the government is spending, do you know how much government spends each and every year on free SHS. This year is more than 2-point-something billion. And still yet, if Ghanaians are not appreciating what the government is doing, you still want government to invest, put that money there.
Well,
and they are complaining. So that is why. So that's why I want to save that money. Where do you want government to get additional money to go and do those things? So we will save this money and move to areas that will be able to bring that kind of relief to the people. The people say food prices are going up. The people say fuel prices are going up. So if government is able to suspend this and save almost about 5 to 6 billion and put it in those areas, that will bring relief. Maybe in the future when things have settled, we have recovered fully from the COVID and things economically, globally has come down and things have picked up, maybe government can go back.
This is a position former chairman of the Ghana Revenue Authority, Professor Stephen Odaw, endorses, speaking on Upfront on the Joy News channel Wednesday. The economist said too much resources is being expended on the program. He wants a review so that some schools will be allowed to charge fees.
The Ministry of Education alone and the Ministry of Health for the teachers and nurses take so much from the government budget. If you add debt, we have practically nothing. If you are making a road, you have to go and beg for money. And of course, nobody is happy. Everybody wants higher salary. They want, and there's almost an automatic increase. Everybody who comes from school of education, college of education, has to be employed. So that structural rigidities in our system makes it such that there's very little room to move. And despite all the advantages of free SHS, it has even worsened it. Because now about 7.5 or 6 billion immediately goes into it. I think that free SHS is wonderful because if it was there, I would have gone to secondary school, not teachers' college. So, but we have to look at it again. I think that there are certain schools which we should make them autonomous and fee-paying, and people will go there, but then make sure that there are good community schools for everybody else. So that Chimoters and the Wegehe, which people want, they are only exclusive for them. Because by accident, they went there, their children must go there, let them pay. So they may be...
But these are the best schools we have.
Yes, so keep it best, let them pay. But use the money you are using there to make the other schools also best.
Basically, you are pricing out the poor.
No, you are doing the opposite. Because only a small proportion of the poor come to Achimota.
Yeah.
Let the rich go there and pay.
We will shortly speak to Imani Africa, but this is not the first time a conversation about reviewing free SHS in particular has come up. When the policy was introduced, Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta admitted those who can pay should be made to pay, but said the difficulty in making these identification forced government to make it free for all.
And I think, President Akufo-Addo has essentially achieved that. But even during that period, he was also very clear of what he calls the preferential option for the poor, which is the issue of inclusiveness. So the massive elimination of various vexing taxes and the interjection of free senior high school, what we are doing with planting for food and jobs. Now, this is not a government that is therefore not aware of what the needs of the people are. And to be able to secure the future for transformation, human capital is so important. And that's what the intervention is. Okay. But beyond that is creating a society where there's social inclusiveness, which means they must get educated. And also there's a sense of social mobility. So when I sit there looking at choices that one has to make, when somebody say, well, you don't have the money to do free senior high, I say, I don't have a choice. The president wants that, and every Ghanaian citizen deserves to be able to be given a platform from which he or she can...
I'm still waiting to hear the assurance that we will not overspend in the election year.
Well, the assurance that you have...
Throw everything away.
Great. Yeah. I'm glad you are saying throw everything away, because there is an acknowledgement that we've got a lot. Yes. And we don't want to throw it away, which is very good. But we have an amazing team. For me, being under the mentorship of the Vice President, the Senior Minister, and the Presidency, and it gives a whole sense of urgency as to what we have to do. And that is where, unfortunately, the Senior Minister was the one who was able to ensure that we did not get into this election year, and he's there to guide us. We also, as you know, voluntarily did the FRA. Right. So the 5%, I have to keep at it, or as I lose my job, I'm sanctioned. Okay. And that's motivation enough. So really for us, and if you look at what we have done these 3 years, we have kept faith with that. All right.
How much exactly has been spent on the program since its inception? My colleague Kweku Asante joins us via Zoom with the figures. Is a cancellation, suspension or review of the free SHS program currently on the table? That's the question we're finding out. Kweku, what more can you tell us?
All right, so currently, according to government, they've spent 7.7 billion Ghana cedis, 7.7 billion cedis since the policy took off in 2017. That is much more than government has spent in a lot of social interventions. But the breakdown is that in 2019, government spent 1.68 billion cedis. In 2020, it spent 2.34 billion cedis. In 2021, it came down a bit, spent 1.97 billion cedis. And the current year, it is spending 2.3 billion Ghana cedis. And so government has spent quite a fortune on free senior high school since it started. And we've been speaking to the Ghana Education Service, the Ministry of Education, who have been implementing the program. According to the spokesperson, Kwesi Kwarteng, irrespective of, despite the complaints that people have made about the amount of money that they spent, cancelling, reviewing, or suspending the free senior high school is not on the table at all. So we can listen to Kwesi Kwarteng, he speaks for the Ministry of Education.
The free SHS policy is not the only government initiative that involves financial implications. And I mean, for the extension of that logic, are we also saying that any other thing that is government expenditure should be held just on the basis that, I mean, generally, we admit that we have some level of, how do you call it, economic challenge or difficulty? Is that the suggestion that because some way, somehow, wood construction or the construction of woods also involves the government expenditure, and then we should halt on all wood construction because people feel that the economy is challenged. I'm not sure that is the logic that anybody wants to push, but on the economic of it, we've not had any conversations to that effect about cancelling or I mean removing that bit of financial assistance that the government has been giving to the people of Ghana.
Via Zoom is Director of Strategy, Imani Africa, Ceylon branch here. Thank you so much, sir, for your time. So what's the best policy approach now? Should we be considering cancelling or reviewing the free SHS policy? Salam, if you can hear me, I'm asking what the best approach will be now. Should we be considering a review or a total cancellation of the policy?
I was on mute, unfortunately. Yeah, so I hope you can hear me now.
Yes, loud and clear.
Good. So I believe that there should be a review of the policy. Truncating it right now would also bring a huge inconvenience on quite a lot of parents who possibly do not have the means at this moment or would not have budgeted it into their stream of activities, catering for some of their wards, especially if you look at people who have maybe more than 1 or 2 wards in secondary school now, who are earning anything between 1,000 to 2,000 CD income brackets. It would have very devastating consequences on their ability to go to school or fulfill requirements for the term. So I believe that what could happen is a review of this policy along some kind of means testing, but this would have also required some kind of deliberation and some kind of initial background work, which at this moment or at this point in time is not it's not something that can be done immediately. The nuclear option will be obviously to pull the plug, and possibly take time over the course of the year to build up some kind of framework to ensure that the children can still attend school whilst other solutions are looked at. Because the truth of the matter is that over the past, 4 or 5 years since this policy was established in full swing, we are spending upwards of between $400 and $600 million annually, which is money we really cannot afford at the moment. And these are some of the warnings that Imani Africa indicated 10 years ago when this policy was mooted as one of the flagship policies of the NPP government, or an incoming NPP government. We indicated right from the get-go that this was going to be something that was going to cause a huge burden on the economy, a huge burden on the activity of education delivery in itself, because currently the Ministry of Education is, or the education ecosystem is spending more on just running the free SHS than on delivering quality education to the same pupils. And it is reflecting in the kinds of results that they are posting year in, year out. And you have to also know that every year, with every passing year, there are more of these children entering into the secondary cycle stream of education, which means that that burden is even going to increase as we go on, because we have a youthful population and a population that is increasing annually at a higher rate than before. So it means that the burden is not going to go down anytime soon, and very pragmatic measures, which if they had been taken into consideration from day one, would have been the much more prudent solution. Like Professor Day indicated earlier, we should not begin to try and make this a matter of classism, but we should be very pragmatic. Our systems and our infrastructure is such that the second cycle institutions in Ghana are mostly made up of boarding schools, and the funding boarding school education is way more expensive than funding day school education. And these are some of the things, or the nuances that make our situation very unique and different from other countries that were implementing free education at the secondary level.
Right. I was just about coming to what Professor Odaw indicated about parents who can afford. In that regard, what would you suggest?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, my colleague Kofi Bentel has spoken quite extensively over the years on the fact that there must be some way or modulations around means testing, where parents who can afford can pay. And he also talked about one thing, which if you look at parallels in other countries, it exists. In countries where they have free second cycle education, there are certain schools that are kind of like what you would call the Ivy League of schools, where you would have the rich people who can create endowments for these institutions where they send their kids to, can create those endowments, and which can also have a quota of privileged children paying the full complement of fees, whilst a certain quota is also there for needy but brilliant children to enter and take advantage of the facilities in those institutions. And these institutions are high-performing institutions, which are normal in any country in the world. However, so a lot of these things were met with harsh criticisms because a lot of people did not take time to understand the nuances of the situation, where even though we want equitable education across board, there needs to be the chance to have certain institutions that become centers of excellence, which have what we call endowments. It's the same way that you have universities like MIT and the rest that have big endowments because of the fact that they channel a lot of resources from beneficiaries of these institutions into research, into groundbreaking areas and things like that. And the truth is, we need to begin to have that culture towards our education here and not see education as some kind of conveyor belt which just mass produces children, but looking at both quality and what we intend to produce as the end result of that second cycle education, which is the first 17 or 18 years of an average Ghanaian's life.
Salom Brantier, I'm grateful that you've been able to join us tonight on Joy News Prime. There's a major flood alert for residents along the Odaw drainage basin here in Accra as it emerges that improper waste disposal and encroachment on buffer zones by squatters are hampering the progress of ongoing dredging in the canal. Government in 2019 re-engaged Dredge Masters, a subsidiary of the Jospon Group of companies, to dredge some 10 kilometers of the choked basin, which was identified as a major cause of perennial flooding in Accra. But after completing 4 phases of the exercise, the basin is fast becoming re-choked by plastic and other waste materials from the city. Manol Cranting reports.
So this is the lagoon. There's the upper lagoon. We're from the lower lagoon. There's the upper lagoon.
That is Works and Housing Minister Francis Asensubuachi inspecting ongoing dredging sites along the Odaw drain.
What you see back there under phase 2, we had opened it up further behind to allow for a lot of holding of the water and to allow for ease of flow. But then activities of these squatters, they dump waste, sawdust, they are trying to put up structures. So they use the sawdust to reclaim and narrow the channel.
This is phase 5 of the project, which was awarded in 2019 to Dredge Masters, a subsidiary of the Jospon Group of companies. It is expected to mitigate the incidence of flooding in the capital. As work proceeds on the upper and lower sections of the Korle Lagoon, there are concerns that completed dredging works at the previous site are being undone. Sena Adiepena is operations manager.
After completion of the phase 4, under that scope, which starts from the Caprice Bridge down to the confluence, it was clean. And then we realized that a lot of the debris and silt from upstream was gathered down here. And that's what we've seen behind us. Now, a lot of this indiscriminate disposal of waste has flown downstream. As it stands now, in Siotoa, it's silted. We need to go back there.
Beyond the heavy plastic pollution is the activities of squatters who are encroaching the buffer zones along the canal.
The squatters are posing a real challenge because, first of all, they are throwing the waste they generate back into the drain. So if you go upstream where we have completed, it's as though we haven't done anything, all because a lot of debris has been poured into the drain. You could see people sweeping into the drain. If you go upstream right now, you will see structures so close to the banks putting their waste in there, sweeping into it. At the same time, the access for equipment to
The Works and Housing Minister says collaboration efforts are underway with other ministries to holistically respond to the menace.
We are collaborating actively. In fact, the Gary project has a big component on education on waste management and resettlement of people along the banks, who are actually one of the main reasons why we have these waste there, because they keep on dumping all their solid waste into the drainage channel.
Meanwhile, he says the ministry is concluding arrangements to begin awarding contracts under the World Bank-funded Greater Accra Resilient and Integrated Development Garrett project. Manol Cranting, Joy News, Accra.
The Ghana Meteorological Agency is predicting a slightly longer dry weather period for 2022 farming season. A late to normal onset of rains and mostly normal cessations are expected for Ghanaian farmers. The forecast raises a red flag. They fear their crops may be affected during the rainy season. So what can be done to mitigate the impact of this adverse weather condition? Let's speak now to the Deputy Director for Research and Applied Meteorology at the Ghana Meteorological Service, Francisca Marty, who is joining us on the way forward. In simple terms, first of all, what is the import of this latest forecast?
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening. Yes, you were making, I was asking about in brief terms, what the import of this forecast is.
So the forecast for our major season down south, as you have summarized it, we expect a late onset at the coastal setups, and then a normal onset at the forest zone and the middle belt to the transition zone. And then we expect a longer dry spell for the first dry spell and then the second dry spell. That is the break in between the rainfalls. And then normal to late season.
So would it be accurate to say that we face a possible flood disaster given this forecast?
No. It means that we can get dry places at the coast because we're expecting below normal to normal cumulative rainfall. So we can get dry places at the coast, but the middle belt we're expecting normal values. But the problem will be if we are having breaks within the rainfall that are longer than normal. So if we get our normal values, we have no issues. But as we are forecasted longer rainfalls, if we have longer spells, it means that we are going to have a bit of a challenge because our crops will need consistent equal rainfall amounts. So if it rains today and then there's a long break and then rains again, the crops don't need that.
Okay, so what are some of the early warning systems that can be adopted between the period of May and June?
Well, we should use more of irrigation, and then the dams around us, we should use them to start before the rain setting. Otherwise, then it's going to push cropping season a bit late, and that will not augur well for us.
Okay.
So we should make use of the irrigation systems around, and then where there are dams, dugouts, we should make use of them.
And why must farmers particularly, and Ghanaians in general as well, be worried about this?
Of course, we can see that last year we had, for our major season, for the south, we didn't have good rains. So if it is going to continue like that, then we are going to suffer for our foodstuff. So we have to be very vigilant and then use the existing structures to help us farm and plant.
All right then, but we know that you've also called for more collaboration between flood monitoring, disaster risk reduction and humanitarian aid agencies. What pragmatic steps do you expect these agencies take to help the situation?
You know, what happens is that if we even say that we're expecting lower than normal rainfall amount, it doesn't mean that rainfall can come, rainfall will be short. Some can come with that heavy amount of rainfall within a day, and it can cause havoc. So we have given out the forecast. The agencies that are responsible should take it up and then plan with it. So the forecast is for planning. So they should plan with it and then help us with the early warnings.
Francisca, I'm grateful that you've been able to join us on Joy News Prime. The minority in Parliament has filed a motion for a bipartisan probe into circumstances leading to the killing of 2 policemen allegedly involved in Bullion van robberies in the country. In a private member's motion signed by a ranking member of the Defense and Interior Committee, James Agalga, and Medina MP Francis Xavier Sosu, it stated, considering the high rate of police involvement in the Bullion van attacks and related killings, which they say have become highly suspicious and impugning to the integrity of the Ghana Police Service, there is a need for a full-scale public inquiry into the attacks and related murders. On Monday, March 7, 2022, the police conducted a raid at Portiman near Ashaiman. Constable Jima and Lance Corporal Stephen Kweku Nyama, who had been arrested in connection with the Bullion van robberies, were killed during what police says was an exchange of gunfire between some criminals and the police. Director of Police Public Affairs, DCOP Kwesi Fori, says the 2 policemen were taken to the hideout of some suspects involved in the Bullion van robberies as part of the investigations when they were shot dead during the exchange of gunfire.
They opened fire on the police, and the police also retaliated, and that is why we said we believe some of them might have sustained injuries and are appealing to medical authorities to provide us with needed information should they come for treatment.
Okay. When you say they opened fire on the police, who opened fire on the police?
Oh, we are talking about the criminals. We are saying
great. So those criminals
cannot open fire on itself.
Good.
We're saying that there was an intelligence-led operations, a field operations that the two sustained injuries.
Finally, I just want it to be very clear. This question for you: were they part of the police team that went to Boteman, or they were in Boteman, part of the criminals?
We indicated that they were under arrest, and in the course of the special exercise at Boteman, they suffered injuries, sent to police hospital, and they passed on.
So you took them to Boteman?
But we were in the company of the police.
Were you not wearing any protectives, these persons who went to, as part of the intelligence exercise?
Let me say that it depends. Even if you are in a protective gear, it depends upon where the bullet hit.
We can now hear from James Agalga on the bipartisan probe into circumstances leading to the killing of 2 policemen allegedly involved in Bullion van robberies in the country.
The executive hasn't shown any commitment and to having this matter investigated. And that is why we thought that, look, Parliament can deal with this. And the way to go is to file a private member's motion to have a bipartisan committee. And we want membership of that bipartisan committee to be drawn from the Defense and Interior Committee and the Constitutional, Parliamentary and Legal Affairs Committee to probe, publicly inquire into the circumstances surrounding the killing, or if you like, the murder of the 2 police officers who were arrested in connection with the Bullion van robberies and were in police custody. And then they told us that they went on an intelligence-led operation in the company of the 2 police officers. And in the course of executing the operation, there was heavy exchange of gunfire. And only the 2 officers who were being held by the police service were the ones who lost their lives.
In a separate development, the Special Prosecutor Kisi Ejabing says his office has commenced investigations into recruitment to cadet officers training at the Ghana Police Academy. Joining us now is security analyst Adam Bona. Before we talk about the investigations by the Special Prosecutor, what do you make of the bipartisan probe into circumstances actually leading to the killing of 2 police men allegedly involved in this recent Bullion van robberies?
Yeah, good evening. It looks like I can hardly hear you.
I'm asking about your impression about the demand of the minority to probe, for a bipartisan probe into this Bullion van robberies.
Well, I think it is a good call, especially looking at what has happened. This particular Bullion van, robberies didn't start today. It's been with us for a while. And so a bipartisan inquiry, or call it investigation, made up of the minority, the majority, and the minority, I believe probably will put some of the things that are not too clear in the minds of the general public to rest, especially looking at the fact that police officers have been killed in the past in some Bullion van robberies, and more so, it's now come to light that some police officers have been heavily involved in the Bullion van robberies, and by extension, how these police officers, 2 of them died. And let me also say that 4 of the police officers who are suspected to be part of the Bullion van robberies in this country are still in custody. And so that would have to be probably clarified that not all of them died when, have died. 4 of them are still in police custody.
Right. But Dr. Bona, why not allow the police service to carry out its own investigations into the matter?
Well, we need to be clear on this. Yes, the police should be able to investigate itself. But I must say that if you look at, other antecedent things that, issues that have happened in the past, you take into consideration the Asawasi 7, where 7 able men were gunned down and they were, firearms were placed by their side, and we were told publicly that these men carried, shot at the police officers and they were killed. When a ministerial committee was put up, independent ministerial committee was put up, it exonerated the dead and said that these men were never, they were not closer to any firearm, let alone shoot at police officers.
Okay.
And so mine is that that is not to say that the police cannot investigate itself, but it is in the police's own interest. I do believe that this time around, let me be very, honest here, this time around, things probably are a bit transparent when you go into the Ghana Police Service. So I want to believe that it is in their own interest for this bipartisan approach with regard, investigation into what happened, aftermath of this deaths leading, armed robberies leading to the death of these 2 police officers.
Okay. Because we don't have all of the time, in just a minute, we know that the special prosecutor is also commencing some probes into the recruitment exercise. Is that also helpful, given the situation in which the police service finds itself? Briefly.
Well, it is also helpful, but call them investigations are very important to let's continue to encourage these things. But I must say that those who probably petitioned the special prosecutor are aggrieved because they were not selected to be part of the group of officers who are supposed to go for the officer cadet training.
Okay.
Well, let's see. If they were qualified, I want to believe that they would have been selected. But if they are not, probably the special prosecutor will tell us that they weren't qualified or they were qualified, and will tell us why they didn't make the cut for the officers who are due for cadet training.
Dr. Adam Bona is a security analyst. Parliament has summoned the National Security, Defence and Interior Ministers to urgently brief the House on recent gun battle between residents of Boku and some military persons stationed in the area. 3 of the soldiers were wounded in the exchange of fire, which started in the early hours of Wednesday. The Asawasi MP, Muntaka Mubarak, who raised the matter on the floor, asked the House to summon the Interior Minister, describing the situation in the area as worrying. Listen to some of the MPs who agreed with the position to invite the ministers.
I remember the Defense Minister and Interior Minister are also our colleagues. And because soldiers and police are all involved, it is my belief that if the 3 of them are around, because if we were going to be setting that our colleagues will be in the House as members of Parliament for either Honorable Ambrose or Honorable Nitu, then inviting only the National Security Minister will suffice. But just to be sure that they are around to also pick some of the comments that's going, I think it would be most appropriate if we are able to invite the 3 of them. Since the 2 already are supposed to be here, but just for the avoidance of that, they are present to listen to some of the concerns that may come up. Instead of the National Security Minister taking the briefing and probably later briefing them, I think it would be more useful.
In the circumstance, I direct that the Minister for National Security, with the assistance of the Minister for Defense and Interior, do brief the House urgently on the security situation in Boku. I so direct.
Let's take you elsewhere now. The Takoradi Circuit Court, presided over by His Honor Michael Kojo Ampedu, has adjourned the case between the suspended Secondary Takoradi Mayor Abdul Mumin Isa and the Republic. This is to enable the prosecution to file and serve the lawyer of the accused with their disclosures. There's more in the following report.
At the court sitting, the prosecutor in the case, Superintendent Emmanuel Basinteli, said
Their disclosures were ready, but they could not file on time and serve the accused person's lawyers. He then pleaded with the court to adjourn the case briefly to enable them file and serve the accused with the disclosures. The lead counsel for the accused, Samuel Agbeta, agreed, but however indicated that the longer the case takes, the longer it affects the human rights of his client. His Anna Michael Kojo Ampedu gave 1 week for the prosecutors to file their disclosure after listening to both parties. The embattled Metropolitan Chief Executive for Sekondi Takrade, Abdul Mumin Isa, was arrested for an alleged motor traffic offense, verbal assault, and offensive conduct against the police officer performing his lawful duty on Thursday, February 3, 2022. He was subsequently charged with assault of police officer, offensive conduct, and disturbing the peace of the public place. He was granted 100,000 bail by the court after pleading not guilty to all 3 charges. For Joy News, in Athalia Kwansa, Takrade.
And thanks for staying with us here on Joy News Prime. Coming up in Showbiz, celebrated audio engineer and record producer Kwame Yeboah says the older generation of Ghanaian musicians do not do well with transferring knowledge to younger folks. More in Showbiz.
Do you know about E-Vibes?
Yeah.
It's the best entertainment show on TV.
All the interviews you've been doing.
Yeah.
The one with Emilia Brobe was really fantastic.
Oh, you saw it. Oh, I have an award.
But what's
for
next
you.
anyway on that?
Well, what's next is Yao Talk. You've seen the promo all over the place. This fantastic rapper has been telling us all about his life, where he started music, what inspired his music, and a whole lot more if you tune into Joy News on Saturday, 8:30 a.m., for the whole thing. But here is what you should expect.
I'd say music is like a gift, you feel me? And what you think, what you make in mind, it's like what I practice, my lifestyle, and what I want to tell the people. That's what really motivates me sometimes, because whenever you want to tell a story, it's about you or the people or someone. Yeah, so I just watch everything and it inspires me too. Yeah.
When they mention your name and the rest of the Sapa boys, they go like, it's drill music, and that's drill music. Is it just the drill music that you do, or you do other genres?
Okay, let me say, as for me, I'm an artist and I create different types. That's why when he came home, I played you a song. Yeah, so I do everything.
You're watching Prime Business. I'm Charles Ayete. This hour, the Ministry of Trade is insisting that the reduction of benchmark values is all in place to ensure that Ghana makes the needed revenue and domesticate its economy.
That if they will agree that a lot of things that they import, like that we have the capacity to produce here, they should partner those industries that are producing here.
We have this story, plus toll workers expressing frustration about the reassignment delays months after the operations were suspended. Stay for us with all these stories, especially when we're going to be beginning the bulletin with commodities. And that's how our commodities fared. Let's begin with our first story. The Deputy Minister of Trade is insisting that the reduction in benchmark values is part of government's resolve to domesticate the Ghanaian economy. It comes as various exporters and importers are raising questions about the high import duties as a result of this situation. She's been speaking to Joy Business.
So far, 35,000 incidents of fraud have been reported to the Ghana Chamber of Telecommunications. About 28,000 devices have been blocked. 17,000 IDs have been blacklisted. Though some elites have been victims of these scams.
Initially, the discussions were on some products for reversing it completely. But after a lot more consultation, broader consultation, we arrived at this. Of course, this is not going to solve everybody's problem, but it looks like this is a lot more acceptable to both than initially where we were at. But what was your question?
Most of the traders are saying that the reduction from 50 to 30 is unfavorable. How do you respond?
Most of the traders were initially really kicked against the 50% full reversal. And then after consultation, we got to the 30%. Now, the 30%, we did a lot of consultation. And of course, you know, in consultation, it's not everyone who is exactly going to agree to the actual figure. But on the larger scale, a lot of them did agree that we seal it off there, and then the government took the decision. But then again, I'll still go back to the domesticating bit, that if they will agree that a lot of things that they import, like that we have the capacity to produce here, they should partner those industries that are producing here. The government has committed so much to get in partnership with these private individuals or organizations, and have set these up to ensure that we are able to up the game of our industrialization, and to ensure that we are able to create a lot more jobs.
As mobile money services continue to evolve, new types of fraud are emerging in the sector. Identity theft through SIM swapping, promotional and social engineering scams are the highly reported incidents of fraud around the country. This has brought about a significant economic loss for users. The Ghana Chamber of Telecommunications is instituting various warning systems to identify and curb such illegality. There is more in this report.
So far, 35,000 incidents of fraud have been reported to the Ghana Chamber of Telecommunications. About 28,000 devices have been blocked. 17,000 IDs have been blacklisted. Though some elites have been victims of these scams, players in the informal sector are mostly found to be easy prey. As part of the World Consumer Rights Day, the Chamber of Telecommunications is raising awareness on agent and consumer fraud. It is under the theme Fair Digital Finance. Ken Ashigbe is CEO.
A lot of our people are not aware, and it's not about even literacy. You find some of these schemes and some of these scams come up, and then people who are supposed to be very lettered, also fall victim to this. So we cannot do this without the media, and that's why we're happy that we're engaging the media to be able to send a message home that you do not have to give your PIN to anybody. You do not have to disclose your financial service to people that you don't know who call you and say they are from other places. We all know the numbers that our networks will call us with. If you get a call from another net pretending to discuss anything with you, don't. And sometimes you see the text messages they send you. There will be errors in them. It is not as if they cannot spell. They know how to spell. The only thing is that there are bots that crawl the messages that are sent. So there are some words that once the systems find them and they find them that they are fictitious, those messages will be blocked. So
a fraud control dashboard has been introduced to track and block perpetrators.
So the fraud control dashboard, what it does is that if you perpetuate fraud on any network, and you are reported. You see sometimes on Facebook, you see somebody wanting to create an employment scam. You know that the security forces will not recruit with that. So what then you do is that once you see it, you report. You call 419 on your network and report it. They would investigate it. When they find out that it's correct, what they then do is that they will block that SIM. When they block the SIM, they will go and look at the ID that was used. If that ID has been used severally to commit fraud that has been reported, that ID will be blacklisted.
The safety of electronic pins and passcodes, however, rests with the customer. Senior Manager of MTN Ghana's Branch Network Services for the Northern Sector, Adwa Afrakuma Ba Obin, asked subscribers to be extra careful during transactions.
Nobody will call you from MTN telling you that give out your mobile money pin because you've won a competition or we have a reward for you.
Now, Ghana is prepared to lend support to other member countries on the African continent to protect the digital infrastructure. This follows a number of cybersecurity threats identified on the continent. There is more in this report. Well, we shall bring that in our subsequent bulletins. But away from that, toll booth workers are frustrated about delays in the reassignment of their post months after closure of toll booths across the country. My colleague James Ishan has been looking into the concerns and now reports.
After the closure of various toll booths across the country, the workers were given assurances of a reassignment. Ella Meto is one of such workers who were to be monitored to ensure that they were integrated into the Ministry of Roads and Highways. I visited Ella, one of the leaders of the group, to know how the journey has been for him and his colleagues.
Well, since the closure of the toll booths, PWDs especially have been fighting to get a new job, because we were all aware when the budget was being read at the parliament in November, the minister told Ghanaians that the toll workers will be reassigned. So we keep following. So as I'm talking to you right now, we've been to the ministry for more than 4 times, but fortunately for us, the last time my colleagues went to the ministry, that was it 3 days today, on the 30th or something like that, on the 30th of January this year, the minister met them and promised them that they are still working on the reassignment for persons living with disability.
He wants the government to regulate the activities of the toll booth workers.
So we are still praying that that reassignment is going to come, because when you check our constitution, the government is supposed to train PWDs and employ them. And there has never been an initiative to employ persons with disability in any institution larger than this initiative. So we were extremely happy, because it's going to alleviate a bit of poverty from some of our people, and it indeed happened. It was actually happened. So we are still praying that the government will still consider the decision by re-engaging, especially the PWD, because we can all testify to the fact that it's not every institution that is willing to employ PWD because of the cost involved.
It's been days, weeks and months, but no concrete feedback has been given to these former workers. After several meetings with the finance ministry, the toll booth workers are still hoping to get back to work regardless of the challenges.
Well, in the beginning, it wasn't encouraging. The feedback was not encouraging. As I've just said, on the 30th, my colleagues went there. I wasn't able to be part of them. The minister himself met them and promised them that within the week, the coming weeks, they are going to give us the plans that the government have for PWDs, especially as to the closure of the toll booth. So we are praying that that promise that they made in the past, and what the minister, Honorable Amakwata, also said on the 30th, is going to yield the result that may bring some kind of relief to especially the PWDs.
Ella Meto has been unemployed for the past 1 year and over, right from when he was sacked to the closure of the toll booth across the country. But there is some positive news here. His group and himself are engaging the Ministry of Finance for a reassignment. For Joy Business, James Ishen.
and we'll see how that reassignment goes. But away from that, the Social Security and National Insurance Trust has observed a worrying phenomenon of employees conniving with the employers to under-declare salaries. Now, this has resulted in low contribution towards the scheme, with a corresponding meager benefit received upon retirement. Director General Dr. John Ofori-Tenkran explained until the trend is reversed, many employees will live in poverty when they retire. Nana Ojima has more in this report.
By law, 5.5% of employees' salary is deducted, in addition to 13% of the amount from the employer is paid as Social Security. Part of the amount is paid to SSNIT as the employee's retirement benefits. 60% of the highest income insured is paid to the employee on a monthly basis on retirement after a lump sum. Dr. Ofori-Tenkran explains any efforts to evade payment puts employees' future at risk.
Sometimes, because of miseducation, some people would connive with their employers and say that, okay, don't pay me my SSNIT, because as for SSNIT, nothing good comes out of it. And then the employer saves the 13%, and then the 5.5% is not deducted. And you think that you are getting something today, some additional income to spend today, not knowing that you are jeopardizing your future. For that day, when that day comes, when you're unable to work, you are going to miss SSNIT being there to pay for you for as long as you live. You, the employee, stands the chance to earn up to 60% of the highest incomes that you came to declare and insure with us for life. For life. This is not a 1 day or wonder or 1 month or 2 years or 3 years. For as long as you live, SSNIT is there to pay you.
In dealing with challenges mitigating against contributions, SSNIT, in collaboration with Ministry of Education, has introduced supplementary readers on Social Security for senior high schools. At the launch in Kumasi, Deputy Minister of Education, John Intim Fojo, explained the move will improve financial literacy among the population.
We want our learners, about 10 million of them in that category, from kindergarten, primary, JHS up to SHS, to be imbibed with the social values and financial literacy, even to understand the essence of insurance and SSNIT in particular, that in your active service, the contribution that you make to SSNIT will be your savior when you're in old age and unable to work, or even in an unlikely event of incapacitation. Many people are not aware of these products or these provisions, and that is why we want our learners to get it and spread the good news.
All 16 regions have already received copies of the supplementary readers through the regional education offices. For Joy News, Nana Ojima reporting.
Now, government is targeting to generate about $15 billion from tree crop sector by 2030. Inaugurating the governing board of the Tree Crops Development Authority, the Agric Minister Dr. Owusu-Efik-Akoto charged the board to take advantage of the African Continental Free Trade Area to move Ghana from an exporter of raw materials to an exporter of processed food. Here's more.
Development Authority is mandated to regulate and develop in a sustainable environment production, processing, and trading of 6 tree crops: cashew, shea, mango, coconut, rubber, and oil palm in Ghana. The Ministry of Food and Agriculture is anticipating to rake in about $15 billion from the authority in 8 years. The Agric Minister, Dr. Owusu-Efik-Akoto, revealed this at the inauguration of the board.
You are supposed in the next 8 to 10 years develop these 6 selected crops to the level where we will be earning as much foreign exchange as we do cocoa today. And that is a figure of $2.5 billion, which in total we are talking about something like $15 billion. If you bring in the president's vision of Ghana Beyond Aid, which will mean that at least a significant proportion of the raw material from your authority will be processed locally and exported into the rest of Africa.
Chairman of the governing board of the Tree Crops Development Authority Stephen Setre Abankwa pledged to continue collaborating with the private sector to grow the authority.
We are going to work hard, pursue sustainable policies that will attract huge investments into the sector. And looking at the composition of the board, even though it's government initiative, the board which is going to drive the authority towards the implementation of its objects is controlled by the private sector. And not anybody at all, but people with interest in the 6 tree crops.
Meanwhile, Chief Executive of the authority, William Kweto, says his outfit will require about 50 million cedis from government to distribute about 5 million elite seedlings this year.
I would say we will need about 50 million cedis. Yes, roughly we need about 50 million cedis. Government cannot provide all, but sometimes we apply to development partners, they support us in some way, and we have to match their support with government funds. This year our target is to distribute elite planting materials of about 5 million seedlings of all the 6 crops. You see, most of the farm that they have there, they just pick the seedlings from somebody's farm and plant it. They are not hybrid types, they are not elite. They can't give you any meaningful yield.
The 29-member board has a Deputy Minister for Trade and Industry, Michael Ochibefi, and a representative from the Ministry of Food and Agriculture, Dr. Yao Eduampoma, as well as 4 representatives for each crop.
Now, in Ghana, unemployment and street begging have become synonymous with persons with special needs. This is due to their inability to engage in income-generating activity. Love FM's Emmanuel Kwesi-Deborah finds out some are making the effort in scaling this hurdle, but they are left to battle with inimical societal beliefs as their words are being rejected. Here's his report.
Esther and Emmanuel are individually working on a footwear, while Genevieve happily strings up her beads. The special students would like to take them up as a vocation in the future.
I want to do slippers, chains and bags, and in fact even bangles. That's my job I want to do in my future.
Esther had an earlier dream of becoming a hairdresser. However, she faced rejection. One of the tutors, Kofi Amona, reviewed her colleague workers threatening to abandon the master if Esther was not forced to stop.
After spending some months with them, the other apprentices who were working just as Esther was also told their master that if she doesn't allow Esther to leave the work, they will leave. And true to their words, they left.
Life Community Special Vocational School at Didiako in the Ashanti region of Ghana was established in 1996 for people with disabilities. They are trained in gardening, housekeeping, textile design, candle making and bead making. Constance J. Kisua, who is in charge of leather works, admits teaching special children isn't an easy task.
When you are teaching them or you want them to perform a task, you have to do it continuously for about 2 to 3 weeks.
Constance handles a class of 12, but she points out it's not the standard practice.
So it has to be 3 teachers handling 5 students.
Head teacher Joseph Stanley Mwini is sad the government supplies the school with only food and no teaching and learning materials.
The government seems not to recognize us as vocational schools because they only concentrate in giving us feeding grants to feed the students. But for every institution, we have teaching and learn, but not teaching and eating. But here we only eat, do the teaching, but the learning doesn't take place.
Despite the school's difficulties, it has been managing to produce products to sell in order to help buy teaching and learning materials. These efforts, however, have yielded no results.
one is also sea bead, but it's crystal.
I've met Mrs. Ethel Say, the assistant domestic headmistress, who is full of admiration of her students' handiworks. The items, made up of bracelets, anklets, necklaces and waist beads, were conceived to adorn the skin of the Ghanaian. But sadly, the Ghanaians have sworn to uphold. They've been idling here for half a decade because of cultural beliefs.
These beads were made 2017-2018, and we still have them here. But because of the condition of the students, when people come around and we show the beads or the necklace, the things to them, they only touch it. Some don't even touch it, they don't come closer to it. Fear that maybe when they touch the work of those students, they will also be suffering from the condition they are in.
The Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology has been monitoring the situation. The university is providing training and internship opportunities for the special needs students. Dr. Bullard Foko is the principal investigator.
And we are working together with business owners and entrepreneurs in the community to provide internship opportunities for the students, the special needs students in this school, so that at the end of the day, when the students graduate, they are graduating with employable skills, and it will become easier for them to transfer the skills from the school to the community. Fortunately for us, we sold this idea to the Office of Grants and Research at KNUST, and they've given us funding. So we have funding from the Office of Grants and Research. We have support from colleagues from the Disability Studies KNUST, the Department of Sociology and Social Work, and then Industrial and Rural Arts at KNUST. And then our Students Association too, at both social work, sociology and disability studies, have also contributed significantly. So we are working together as a multidisciplinary team to implement this project.
Today, Genevieve, Esther and Emmanuel's handiworks are part of a display ready for the market.
It makes me happy.
In the society's bid to rid the streets of arms begging special persons, it's important we empower them by buying their artifacts. For Joy News, Kwesi Deborah.
And that's a report from Kwesi Deborah there. That's how we end Prime Business. But we shall leave you with Money Lab, after which we have an eye view of what exactly is happening around the world through our international business segment. I'm Charles Aite. Do stay for more, especially when Gary L. Smith comes up next with Prime Sports.
Hi there. Welcome to the Money Lab. Thanks for joining. What are trading rules? Now, the purpose of stock exchange trading is the determination of the price of securities in a functional and efficient market, where all parties to the market have simultaneously in their disposal sufficient information as the basis for the price formation. Transactions on the stock exchange are carried on by licensed dealing members such as Republic Securities, and that is a member of the stock exchange. The dealing member, through its employee, a registered securities dealer, executes buy and sell instructions for investors. Now, the rules guiding the execution of these transactions are the trading rules.
Thank you for staying with us on Joy News. Prime time now for the sports. Gary L. Smith here. And today, for the first time in the history of the Black Stars, that's about 65 years, the Youth and Sports Minister, Mustafa Usif, has said that electronic tickets will be available for a Black Stars game, and this will be for the 2022 World Cup playoff between Ghana and Nigeria next week Friday at the Baba Yara Stadium. Now, this will be the first time tickets for a Black Stars game will be sold electronically.
Sometimes, even when they are supposed to, there is a maintenance manual, a maintenance schedule, even when they are supposed to write to the headquarters, that's the sports authority, they might just collect and use, which is against the law. So we are centralizing it, but we are digitizing all the collection points. And currently we are going to, and for the information of the committee, the first, the match against Nigeria will be digitizing all the ticketing points so that there will be transparency in the collection, so that whoever, the sharing will be done to all key stakeholders without any challenges, so that we can get enough to be able to maintain our facilities. I just wanted to put it to you that we are taking measures to ensure that this doesn't occur again.
So the age-old practice has been to go manually. Now that we are going electronic, what are the benefits of e-ticketing? Let's look at a couple of them. So it reduces costs and also makes revenue generation easier to put together, and also increases revenue generation. You can have a global ticket sales angle to whatever it is that you're doing. It improves accountability because, like the minister said, you know where every penny will go, most likely. It's convenient and helps eliminate ticket fraud, and you can effectively do what you call seat mapping, right? So you can do seat mapping as well. So joining us in studio to look at e-ticketing is Hilary Adari, marketing executive at Ticket Lake. They do e-ticketing. Hilary, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Gary.
So this is your bread and butter. This is what you do for breakfast, yes, lunch and supper.
Yes.
The minister says they are going e-ticketing. How beneficial is it? Sorry.
Okay, so thank you, Gary, again. Yeah. We think it's a commendable effort by the minister to take ticketing electronically or digitally. Of course, it's going to do away with the issue of fraud on the market. Yeah. It's going to help us account more. I mean, when we face the pandemic, you wouldn't have people going to the stadium, and you wouldn't be able to do a contact tracing of people if anything should happen. But with an e-ticketing system, you're able to check all these things electronically and then make sure that everything is accountable there. There's the convenience for the users, where buying a ticket, you do not have to go through the hustle of joining queues to get tickets, but now everything is mainstream. So just a tap on your phone and you have your tickets. With global ticketing, wherever we have our footballers going, we can follow them. Now our ministers and our football agencies do not have to think of the difficult and cumbersome way of getting tickets to people out there. But then with ticketing systems electronically, we can follow them and then we can sell the tickets for them. So we believe that it helps increase the revenue baseline of our sports industry very much. And then we're able to do away with a lot of the fraud, do away with even the carbon print of printing tickets.
Yeah,
yes.
We are going green, aren't we?
Exactly.
Exactly. So there are many forms of e-ticketing. It's advanced so much around the world. Now, the question I'd want to ask is, for example, from what we know, they are going to use the short code system.
Yes.
All right. Are there other forms?
Yes. So the short code, also known as the USSD, is one of the common ways of buying tickets. Of course, it comes with its pros and cons, and you have to spend a lot of money buying the code and then issuing the code out for people to buy tickets. Yeah. We have RFID systems where we could easily have people have a card or a tag they take to the stadium and they just tap and enter. Very easy.
Easy, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And then we also have the apps on phones where people could easily download the app and then just buy the tickets from the comfort of their phones and then take to games that they want to attend.
Okay, so what you see on your screen right now is basically the generic e-ticketing process. Obviously, there are more nuanced and bespoke versions around the world, but you take us through it. So you go to the website or app of your provider.
So with e-ticketing, you just go to the website or the app, you sign up, or you choose to buy your tickets as a guest. So either you download, sign up, or you buy as a guest. You select the match you want to be a part of. You select your ticket class and then the quantity of tickets that
So ticket class being VIP or popular stand or whatever it is.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then you choose your payment option, you make payments, and that's it. It's either you receive your ticket as an SMS or email or in the app. So then for people who are concerned about feature phones, that's like the smartphone or the YAMs that we have, there's an option for everybody. It's either you have it as an SMS, and verification at the entrance is so easy that we make your e-ticketing very seamless.
So the question now is, I mean, I'm sure you've asked this, and that's why you are looking to provide a service to solve it. Why haven't we done this for so many years? What has your research told you about why we are so averse to doing things like this?
Well, I think for one, people are used to doing things in a way they're comfortable with. Our Ghanaian population is very averse to change, if I may say. And trying to migrate people from an analog system to a digital system is quite difficult. So we're just hoping that by and by we can ease people in. That's why we have these options of using your YAMs or your smartphones to get your tickets. So anyhow, we are really, psyched to get people on board the digital era instead of doing things the analog way.
Nice. There's something you wanted to show us.
Exactly. So Ticket Lake, we work with Asante Kotoko, and as part of the innovative ways we allow their users get tickets is using a card like this. So we have the sports club here, of course, powered by Ticket Lake. And then when you just go to the stadium, if you have the mobile app, we have a wallet feature where you just upload the amount of money you want to purchase a ticket with. And interestingly, we have a feature where you can save towards a match. So our wallet allows you to save maybe 10 cedis every day towards a match that's like 3 months away. And then when you just go to the stadium with your card, you just tap our system at the entrance and then you enter. It's as easy as that. So we have this for Asante Kotoko, and we really hope everybody would catch on to this and subscribe
to stuff like that. So these are easier ways. So it's basically like you go to your favorite supermarket, and I know a lot of supermarkets do the loyalty cards and all that. And then you just put some money on it. Anytime you're going, you just tap and go.
Exactly.
Nice one. Thank you, Hilary.
Thank you, Gary.
Hilary Adare is from Ticket Lake, and she's speaking on the back of the announcement today at the Public Accounts Committee by the Sports Minister that the Black Stars versus Nigeria game next week Friday is going electronic where the tickets are concerned. Are you going? Why not? Anyway, we are just 8 days away from the crucial game. It's a showdown and everybody's getting involved. Majority Leader Osei Che-Mensah Bonsu is asking Ghanaians to give the Black Stars their unadulterated support. According to the Shiami MP, Ghanaians have bemoaned the Black Stars' failure for far too long, and this is time to go behind them. Right, so everybody is rallying together. You're going to hear more of this. Yesterday, I told you that the former sports minister, Rashid Bawa, who is Ghana's ambassador to Nigeria, was also went to visit the sports minister in Abuja to whip up support and all that. The game is at the Baba Yara Stadium. Now, let me give you a lowdown of the World Cup qualifiers, which have been played in Kumasi since 2006, just for us to gauge how lucky this stadium is, all right? So, yeah, it will be on the screen shortly. There we go. Now, total games that have been played at Baba Yara, 16 of them since 2006. And then the average attendance has been 30,000. You know, it's a 40,000 capacity stadium. So, which means that Baba Yara traditionally is a place where Black Stars gets good attendances. The win rate is a staggering 75%. That's very, very good. Total goals scored since 2006 in World Cup qualifiers, 40. Total goals conceded, 7. So, quite a good grounds for the Black Stars. Now, what else have we got? From the 2006 qualifier, remember that great qualifying series. Ghana beats Somalia 2-0, beat South Africa 3-0, beat Cape Verde 2-0, Ghana 0-0 DR Congo, Ghana 2-1 Burkina Faso, Ghana 2-0 Uganda. And then the total games played, we saw the numbers there, the percentage numbers. If we can, okay, so this is for the 2010 qualifiers. 1-3-0, 1-1-0 against Benin, so the first one against Libya, 2-2 with Mali. And then the number of games, 3, 67% win rate, average attendance of 36,000, very good. Total goals scored, 6, conceded 2. So everything shows that Baba Yara is sort of the home of the Black Stars, isn't it? 2014, Ghana beat Lesotho 7-0, Sudan 4-0, Zambia 2-1, and the famous one, Egypt 6-1. 4 games, 100% record, 38,500, 19 goals scored, 2 conceded. And of course, 2018 World Cup, the Black Stars did not make it, but they beat Comoros. Remember them? 2-0. 1-1 with Congo, 1-1 with Egypt, and then played 3 games, win rate of 33%. 20,000 people went to see, and it isn't surprising. This is the time that the love for the Black Stars had gone down after the 2014 fiasco. 4 goals scored, only 4 as compared to 19 in the last series, and total goals conceded, 2. Right, so now after the Black Stars, let's do some boxing. And the president of boxing in Ghana, Abraham Kote-Nikwe, has told Joy Sports that he's impressed with the quality of fight in the newly introduced Professional Boxing League. With weekly competition on every 7 days or so, he says that it helps to prepare locally based fighters for international bout.
I think that we've been wishing for the Professional Boxing League have come to stay. Other promoters too, like Box Office, Cabrick, are also working very hard in addition to the league that we are doing. So for us as a GBA, we are happy, and me as a president, I'm happy that this is happening in my time. So I always say I'm a happy man. I took office and things have changed in this direction, and something that I pray that looking at the starting point will continue. It's not going to be like we'll slow down at the middle of the road. We want to finish the year with what we have started, where boxing is now becoming every week program, because after the league, the promoters are also having their fights, and you can see the quality of fights that we are having. I always say boxing is the #1 sport in Ghana, and I have to have a way to prove it. And this is the way to prove it, that if we can have the boxing event coming on every other week, it will be a big plus, even though it's very, very expensive to run a boxing show. But we've been able to put together a few sponsors are coming on board, and it's making our dream come true. We are happy, and I know the government will be happy. The boxing fund will be happy. Entire country will be happy. I sometimes walk around and women and children keep saying that boxing ain't all. So it's a credit to all of us, all the stakeholders. We've all done well because we understand each other. We put things together and look at how far we are taking the boxing. So,
yep, checking my USSD short code to see if the Black Stars tickets are up, and they are indeed. We'll be sharing them later with you. I thank you for staying with us on the Sport on Prime. Let's go abroad. Investment firm Ethel Partners are the latest group to say they have bid for Chelsea Football Club before the Friday deadline. Here's more in the Foley report.
Headed by Portuguese entrepreneur Ricardo Silva, the London firm is pledging to put in £50 million immediately. That will serve as bridging funding to help ease financial issues the club faces and to redevelop Stamford Bridge. Several parties have already expressed their interest in buying the Premier League club from the Russian billionaire Roman Abramovich. His attempt to sell Chelsea has been halted after he was sanctioned by the UK government. The move came in the wake of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, with Abramovich understood to have strong ties to Russian President Vladimir Putin. Meanwhile, American PR executive Barbara Sharon and British journalist Daniel Finkelstein have teamed up with the wise and Todd Boehly bid to buy Chelsea. Sharon is a heavyweight within the music industry, having worked with the likes of Madonna, Rod Stewart, and the Pitch Mode. She has been a Chelsea season ticket holder since 1981. Falkenstein is also a prominent lifetime Chelsea fan. He was executive editor of The Times and became a member of the House of Lords in 2013. Having two such prominent match-going Chelsea figures as part of their team provides an authenticity before Friday's deadline for bids to be received. More than 20 credible parties are interested in buying the Premier League club. British businessman Nick Candy said earlier this month he was exploring a number of options for a potential bid. Former Chelsea striker Gianluca Vialli, who co-owns Tifosi, a mergers and acquisition company for the football sector, announced on Wednesday that he is working with Nick Candy on his bid. The Ricketts family, who own Major League Baseball team Chicago Cubs, also said they are leading a bid from a group of investors.
Right, so away from the Chelsea sale, let's go to the Premier League. Liverpool have moved to within 1 point of Premier League leaders Man City as they emerge impressive winners after a tough examination at Arsenal. That was yesterday evening. Liverpool have now reeled off 9 Premier League wins in succession and just a point off top spot. So what we are going to do here is a bit of comparison. Let's check the current EPL table, how the 2018-19 table was, and then the 9 remaining games of both Liverpool and Man City. Then you can make your own judgment. So this is 2018-19. Remember that season, Liverpool lost by 1 point. Man City finished with 98, Liverpool 97, Chelsea, a distance 72, Spurs, Arsenal, Manchester United. But it's just these two that we are concerned about. Will we have a similar finish, a 1-2, or would it be a 1-2? Right, let's now see the 9 remaining games of these two protagonists. Let's see what it is like. Starting with the top 6 table as it is now. Man City 70, Liverpool 69. Repeat? We'll see. Chelsea, Arsenal, Man United, West Ham United, who are currently playing as we speak in Europe. Yep. So the next 9 Premier League fixtures, they have Watford on the 2nd of April. Then they have a crazy round of games. They have Manchester City, that's the big one, at the Etihad. They have Aston Villa, who are coached by former Red Steven Gerrard. Then they have Manchester United, they are historic rivals. And they have Everton, Derby Day. Then they have Newcastle, Moneymen. They have Spurs, Antonio Conte, Southampton. And then on the final day of the season, they have Wolves. What about Manchester City? Is it any easier for them? Right. For Manchester City, it's have that now. Yeah, there we go. Burnley away. Then they have Liverpool. They have Wolves, Brighton, Watford, Leeds, Newcastle, West Ham, and Aston Villa. You'll be tempted to say that City's run is easier than Liverpool, but this is the Premier League where nobody is really a pushover. There'll be more drama, and we'll do the analysis on our various sporting shows here at Joy Sports. You can get more stories on myjoyonline.com. I'm Gary Al Smith. Thank you for staying with us on the sport, and that's how we end Joy News Prime today. You can follow us on social media. The following handles, it's this way.